to write poetry, and a rhyming dictionary that's all on one page is no fun at all. So they invented pagination quite a long time ago in ancient China. And this was one place that they invented it. In the upper right, these are students in Poland, and we were on a field trip in the salt mines underneath Krakow. They're looking at sculptures made by the miners centuries ago. Lower right, these are students that are studying perspective drawing in Istanbul. And lower right, they're also studying perspective, but on site in on a field trip in a cathedral. That student there is in 6th grade. I bring these things up because when you're in the arts and when you're in teaching, resources are limited. Resources are always limited, but in teaching and in the arts, they are very limited. So when I was thinking about what could I present that you all might not, what would be of benefit, that's what I do, is I figure out how to do stuff with limited resources. That's my thing. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight, getting stuff done with limited resources, or sands on a shoestring. I have questions. So my first question is, how many people can get at least one day off of work for professional development? Hands up if yes, hands down, you're counted as no. Okay. All right. How many people have money allotted to them, any amount, for professional development? Hands up if yes, hands down if no. Okay. All right. How many people have, that was the point, any amount. How many people have enough money allotted to them for on-site sands training? Enough time and money? Hands up. Okay, all right. Well, I hope what I've got to say is of use. Okay. So, about this time last year, I knew that I wanted to learn more technical skills before looking for work, changing from art making and teaching into information security, all right? And I didn't have the breadth of experience to look at curriculum and to know whether or not a given curriculum was good. I had seen advice on the internet about Sec Plus. Well, do Sec Plus if you're starting out in information security. And I got a used book, and I regretted it, even at a used book price, because I could quickly see that with the Sec Plus test, you're pretty much just staying down here with remembering. That's essentially like vocabulary, all right? You can measure that with true-false questions. Next up is understanding how the pieces fit together. And then above that is when things start to get a little bit more interesting. You get to do stuff with it. And the top row is the most interesting and the most fun, but it's also the most demanding that you can be on a student in terms of the requests that you can make. It is also the hardest to assess. This is pretty much why when I looked at what you came out of a SANS course with, then I knew that this was probably where I wanted to put my energy, all right? It's not that simple. So the important stuff here, I recognize some of this text is small. The important stuff I repeated in red. Essentially, the 5-day course is more than $5,000. The 6-day course, more than $6,000. The exam, if you bundle it together, is $729. And I also felt the need to put the date that I accessed this on there because it did go up recently. Luckily, there are many ways to make a cat bald. In the spirit of putting everything out there, and maybe what I'm putting forward would fit somebody's circumstances, I'm just going to put them all out there. This first option is my least favorite, all right, where you challenge the test, all right? To just take the exam on its own is $1,700. US dollars, please. That is essentially reverse engineering the course content from the objectives, all right? This is not all of the objectives for the 401 course. They wouldn't all fit, and if you can't really read this, that was where I was going. That was my point with this, is that I did some of that. It's not easy. I don't recommend it. But it could, challenging the test might fit somebody's circumstances, and it is less than $6,000. I have another question, and that is, how many people are have done the work-study program with SANS? Hands up. Okay, all right. How many people are familiar with the work-study program with SANS? Okay, all right. I like this option a lot better. Okay, SANS work-study is where you go early and you stay long and you stay late and you help them with all of the unskilled labor they need to get that conference to go in exchange for being a full regular student. You get this at an 80% discount. It's actually a little bit better than an 80% discount. So, what does it cost? The short version is, it costs $1,100. It includes books, MP3s, on demand if it exists for the course, and it can include the exam. I want to return to that point in a little bit, but it is a good deal. And the word is out about it. So, I put out 9 applications from between this past November through to March, and I got 3 rejections, 4 I didn't hear from, 1 wait list, and 1 acceptance. To my way of thinking, this was an excellent outcome. I have a friend who applied 10 times and got 0 acceptances. So it is a competitive process, because like I said, the word is out. So I had heard people online, like, you know, what is the pattern? How do they accept you? How do you get into this competitive thing? Definitely you want to apply to many and improve your odds, and having a strategy and making notes of what you applied to is helpful, because you want to look and think through which conferences in which cities have what you're interested in, and as soon as you're able to apply for those, then you want to put your application in, because that is one of the factors in your favor. Some people wait until the gate opens and do it immediately. That's a good plan. Be one of the first. That's one good thing to do. Okay, so if you were like me and you're just starting cold, the best of all possible things, of course, is an instructor recommendation. I didn't have that. I didn't know anybody at SANS. I didn't have any prior SANS certificates or advisory board, none of that. And they ask you all of those things on the form. And if you're like me, then these 2 fields are pretty much your way to stand out from what could be 100 people wanting that spot. Why do you want to volunteer for SANS? What would set you apart from other volunteers? Given that you might have 4 sentences to stand out from all of the other applicants, it makes sense to give it some thought. Run it by somebody else or a couple somebody else's for a sanity check and a grammar check. Even if you just do a total of 4 sentences, you probably want that they are sentences that are memorable, or at least, you know, get you noticed. And I want to tell you where the booby traps are. So this goes back to the exam possibly being included, okay? If you stay at the conference hotel, or you stay with family or friends that are within a 60-minute drive of the venue, then SANS will include your exam attempt for free. If you stay at a different hotel that is cheaper, they will not include the exam attempt. And you've got the course, but you don't have the possibility for the certificate to show that you did it, you passed that test. So it makes sense to think about, where have you got places to stay on somebody's couch, or you know, if they are good enough to have a guest bedroom, because the conference hotel can be more than the tuition, and you want to prepare for that in one way or another. Another issue about this particular box in the form is that it might be that you have better odds of being accepted at a larger event. The reason for this is they have more people that they're going to need to help, but also they can have experienced facilitators mentor the new facilitators, and it makes everything go a lot smoother. One really nice thing about when I did the work study program was the expectations were really clear what they wanted you to do. They told you, they had mentors help you. It was really crystal clear. The next option that I want to tell you about is scholarship. So they have two programs that the Vet Success and the Women's Immersion Academy. The Vet Success, it has been going on for a little bit longer, and that's why more vets have been through it, 149. 43 women are currently or have graduated in the Women's Immersion Academy. They are 100% scholarships. You can do either 2 courses or 3 courses. The third one is optional. And in the spirit of maybe something for everybody, I guess you could just choose to do 2, but you could also choose to do 3. And anyways, it is another excellent program. So being as it's an excellent program, how do you get in? What makes a successful candidate with the Cyber Talent Immersion Academies? I asked Sonny Sandelius, and he was telling me that they look for candidates that show a strong aptitude to learn technical material, the drive to want to make a career in information security, and they also want to see the level of maturity and discipline needed to succeed in the academy and professionally. And the future of these programs, SANS would like them to grow beyond their current capacity. So if you think that you know any veterans or their spouses are also eligible, who are transitioning out of the service, who are interested in information security, or women who have not worked in information security but have an interest, that's what these programs are designed to do, get more women and more vets into information security. They have a 90% hire rate of the graduates. Here are some of the positions that graduates have headed into. And these are some of the places that the graduates have gone. I also have a colleague in the program who went to Duo. Duo's not on here, but she is very definitely working there. If you think that you would like to inquire about eligibility for either of these programs, or know someone who you'd like to pass on forward, or you'd like to apply, or you'd like to hire someone who's been through either of these programs, Sonny Sandelius is the operations manager, and he is the contact. The other possible solution for getting involved with SANS is QC testing. QC testing is 1099 work that you're looking at the on-demand video and comparing it to a PDF, and you are looking for discrepancies. One thing that Karen, who graciously answered my questions about QC testing, she wanted me to pass on to you how much they care about quality at SANS. And actually, that was one thing that I learned doing the work study, was that SANS really, really cares about their brand in the best sense of that. When there was any issue with, when there was any issue at all, it went immediately up the chain of command faster than you would ever think possible. They read every single person at every step of the chain reads each of the student evaluations, and any issues in them, they're dealt with, like even just 3s out of 5. And so They really care about it. That is one of your responsibilities as a facilitator, is to make sure that the daily evaluations are passed out, to guard them with your life when they come back, to tally them and scan them and send them off, where they will be tallied in again for to make sure for accuracy and processed. So regarding QC testing, I thought the mission statement didn't just describe what you do for it, but also gave a good idea of the culture to ensure that students receive the best SANS online learning experience from course content, instructor performance, and technical support, correct, complete, and with minimal distraction. They really care about quality. If you are interested in QC testing, the contact is Melanie Moyles. She is the quality engineer. You'll want to mention how you heard about the program and if you are part of any current SANS programs, but I would not stop there if you have any relevant experience. For example, I have a colleague in the scholarship program that had technical editing experience. So of course, if you had that, put that forward, put forward anything that is relevant. And in the spirit of something for everybody, for the experts, subject matter experts, test labs, virtual environments, assist students via live chat or email, and advise quality on content matters. Matt Austin is the contact if you are interested in this kind of work. And again, you want to mention how you heard about the program. Are there any questions?
I can do a shameless plug too.
Okay.
At the NEOISF, because the NEOISF, we're helping volunteer at the NEO, the summit. At the end of the month, SANS will be there. In fact, I think Ed's doing the keynote, SCOTUS.
I saw that.
But they're there. If you happen to attend there, go there. The other thing is like on the SANS website, there's a lot of free webcasts you can sign up for and go check it out, right? And take a look. I mean, a lot of their courses, you can download a chapter and just take a look at it and see if it interests you. I mean, it's really well put together material. I've got like 2 or 3 of the certifications from Pentesting and a lot of the defending ones. They're a little light on the defending. They're real heavy on the like SOC, attack, and Pentesting side, but really good material. So there's not a lot of conferences regionally. There are some opportunities where people that have gotten certified come and do like a 10-week course, like in the regional area, and teach one of the courses here. So if you can't get to Baltimore, I don't know if the helpers for those regional ones. There's
like a few levels of helping with SANS. So if you think you eventually want to be a SANS instructor, there's actually a lot of work and steps and commitment involved in getting to that point. The first one is like mentoring with those local classes, and then eventually you can work up to being the teaching assistant. But as the facilitator, you're not helping other students with any of the course content. You're a student, and they have someone else helping troubleshoot, answer questions, being an extra teacher in the room to help.
But their coursework's really good. Like the NetWars is really a lot of fun to do too.
And they're included if you go to a conference that has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the trick. If you think you want to do NetWars, you just look for a conference that has it, because you get in with the course. That's another excellent point too that I want to make. I wanted to avoid the stuff that if you were interested, you could see it on the website, but the website is really rich. There's a ton of stuff on there if you're interested in any of these things. Any other questions? Tell me.
So what's the discount, I guess, for the
it's better than 80, I'm sorry?
is there a discount for like if you're an SME or?
So not being an SME, I don't know the details, but I know when you QC test, you have access to the on-demand and the PDF. So like you don't get the exam. That's not your purpose, you're working. But if your purpose is to learn the material, you have to read it for your work. Now, they make you sign an NDA that says we're not going to bother killing you if you share our stuff, because after we're done, your life will be a worthless shell. But you must read it in order to do your job. It says on there, like, you know, don't use it except for your job, but you must read it to do your job. And if your purpose was to learn, there's your in. And also, I kind of presented that last, the SME and the QC testing, because it's all about persistence, right? So you stick around, you do work for a while, and then you end up, perhaps, potentially, with contact to a lot of courses. So, and they'll pay you. So, were there other questions? Tell me.
So how far did you wind up taking this?
So, I did the work study once, like I mentioned, the 1 and the 9, and I am in the Women's Immersion Academy, and I also am QC testing because, like, once is never enough, and if once is good, then 80 must be better, right? Someday I'll be SME, but not today. So do you know, a lot of people didn't, it seemed to me. So when I attended the 2 live classes that I attended, the work study 1 and the first course of the scholarship is in person, and then the next 2 are online. The teachers both separately asked, just for a show of hands, who's taking the exam afterwards? And the funny thing was, not that many people, not that many people. I would say less than a quarter, which is kind of odd to me. If you did the work, would you want to show that you did the work? So the one drawback being some HR people seem to not be as aware, but if you can just take a look at what the objectives are for the course, and you can see what was covered, you can you know, work it back from there.
But I mean, I thought you had to exam sometime, so I mean, you could take it immediately afterwards.
So if you've gone for the exam option, you have a 4-month window to study.
Oh.
If you already know this material and your place of employment has just sent you on professional development that you're already using this stuff every day, then you can take it when you want. I think you have to wait a week or something like that.
Okay.
Not a long time. They make you not do it the next day. But you have 4 months until you're going to need to pay for an extension or take it or let go of doing it. But working on the material, especially if you were doing full-time work in addition to the studying, I would take the time you needed in order to feel comfortable to do the test. So.
Hey, Valerie.
Tell me.
One thing on the test too, yeah, you got 4 months to do it, and usually what happens is, like 65, 75% is passing. You can bring all the course materials. The books are usually like just numbered.
It is open
index,
book.
no glossary. So a lot of the prep to take the test, you put together kind of an index, right? Because what you really want to do is score really high on it. Because if you get over 90%, then you get invited to be a
In the
reviewer
Smart People
and on board and stuff like that. Which is really cool because it kind of connects you with a lot of different people and a lot of different options across all the courses, not just the one you took.
Yeah.
So it kind of behooves you to like take the course, come back, review it, maybe even take a couple times and go through it, do some of the practice tests, and not just remember from rote memory. I mean, you know, usually a lot of the courses are like 4 or 5 books, like 1,800 to 2,100 pages, and you're just, you know, hitting with different examples of things. But the courses, you go to like a learning center, you sit in a locked room, you can bring in material, and it's time.
Yes.
And the courses, like the test, you can't go back. So if I take test for question 1, I can't go back to it. I got to answer it to move on. And that's what's really kind of
There's
harder.
no checking your answers.
Yeah, but that's what makes that certification really valuable, is because you kind of know it or know how to walk through it.
Yeah, and the 90% threshold is worth studying for and getting. You can get into the advisory board, which is the Smart People email.
Yeah.
It's just an email list, but but the conversation is really thoughtful.
Yeah.
And you have access to all kinds of people who also have scored 90% or better and are working and may have already solved some issues that you're working through now, you know.
And that work study program you get in, is that like a 12-hour day or?
So you go and work the day before the conference starts. So your schedule starts the day before, you know, the course. And your day could start at 7 o'clock. It could end at 9. It could end at 11. My friend, there was a hitch with the Net Wars. And somebody attacked the server, and then they had to sort it out. And so it delayed things a little bit in the evening. Of course, they got it worked out. But his evening ran a little bit late because they needed to, it's you know, you're there to be the help. So, and you also do tearing down at the end of the course as well. So people generally leave like maybe 2, 3 o'clock, and then you stay, and it could be until 5, or it could, you know, I mean, depending, it depends. You might have responsibilities that are during the class, but they would be rare and small. If they're, for example, you are the contact if students are too hot or too cold in the room. You are the one that is communicating with the powers that be to get the temperature adjusted. If the AV fails during the course, you are the one that runs. And at the beginning of the conference, maybe you miss 15, 20 minutes giving the people who are just arriving their books and checking their ID and giving them their badges. You also have to check that everybody's got their badge on when they come in the room. Somebody snuck into a course and then they presented on it at DEF CON. And so SANS cares, and they want that you check the badges. They want that you check the badges. So, I mean, like, it's not sophisticated work, but it matters that you do it well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, are there other questions? Well, thank you for listening to me.
So we're going to go and take a few minute break. If you guys want to grab some sodas, they're right around the corner on the ice. I think we've got some more pizza left, and of course, talk amongst yourself.
Oh yeah. I actually got my work at a subscription because I was the only person in my department that didn't learn about that. So by security team and nothing, I never heard of it. It's a lovely. Yes. See you next time.
Sorry, I missed your call. You caught me when I was picking my first. This week. It's my first time.
It is.
And so there's some there's 2,000 program now. And so there's 8 of these
When I get back to the business, but I was going to good program. Yep.
Oh, it's the big, what was the big town hall? No, what do they call it? Some town hall.
Yeah.
January, whatever it was, that you had to take the testimony on March 31st.
Wow.
I heard study until March 31st to take the test. The test that they have is the study times against. This is promotional about how they try and sell it to people. So it costs.
Hi, Alex.
They sell them for $5,000. But this tells you what's tested for. Another thing I'm really interested in, I look on 401 course.
Hi, Alex.
And it's the same stuff. It's the link, when you say the link to an exam.
Yeah.
So let me know what course you're still letting them appropriate for. I'll sell you on a course, like for 500 level, 300 level, 400 level. Yeah. And I do yourself. Look at 400. Look into this, you can get the.
Oh, yeah. It was in house, it's the, That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's like, where did Scott get to go? You don't get to go. He's gone from, he was a network manager.
Ended right about this time last year.
Well, there was a KD, but that's not, they're probably thinking of. Were they there too? They always
The thing is, you leave here
hanging somebody from, there were two short employees. There's a woman I'm thinking of, I can see her face, but I can never remember. Oh, this one would really roll. That's what I was thinking. You guys now you know the thing. That's what I'm thinking. So that's why I have success in the plane success.
Well, in a perfect world, it'd be chapter 1 and we don't do
That's okay, right. So now you're doing 8 pages so first.
Check your, in there, there's audio settings.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Can you talk about song?
Yep, I certainly can talk.
Yeah, you're live.
Oh, sweet. What up, NEOISF? You guys look so happy. A lot of new faces that I haven't seen before. It's been a while. It's been a year and a half. Make that go away. Oh, sharing it. There's a little lag in it, though. You gave this talk originally where?
Recent. Years ago, a couple years ago.
Okay.
Years ago, last year, year before.
All right.
So basically, you said you haven't played with a whole lot of Android stuff.
Not a whole lot, no. So it's going to be.
And are y'all all Apple Androids?
I have iOS stuff, yeah. But I have an Android. set aside for testing, but I haven't got around to it.
So this was my original project was to try to build a portable Android testing studio thing. So what I wanted to do was create a way where somebody just have a single binary to run in Windows and be able to do like all of this. I got kind of close with Google's vanilla emulator, but the problem is it didn't come with the virtualization speed, the hacks, Intel, and which makes the emulation faster through x86. So you have like ARM binary, you have ARM emulation, and then you have this x86 ARM thing, which is like faster. But then if you try to run like an ARM-based binary on that system, it's going to crack out because it's not the same architecture. I didn't think that's how it works. That was originally why I came across. So a lot of people say testing mobile applications like magical unicorn. The Delvic is the older stuff, and now they're doing what art, the actual language, the bytecode that's here.
So it's like a newer version of newer Java.
And at the time of writing, Virtuous 10 Studio for Windows was probably like the best decompiler compiler tool out there. Last time I checked, the site was like gone or not maintained, and I had issues even figuring out what the hell happened with it. But the idea with them is it's like $10, and you pull on the APK, it decompiles it for you and shows you what all the code, and then you can hit a button and figure it out the back, and then with your changes, and then in theory it should work, not crash.
Gotcha. Real quick, people in the ISF, you could hear Robert clear then?
Yes.
Okay. So other things like calling SSL through apps. So really, even at the time of doing this, there weren't a whole lot of apps that were doing the SSL thing and crap that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Where they pin the SSL certificate to the application. So if you try to do any SSL man in the middle garbage, it's going to get broken and either crash or not work. You won't see the traffic at all.
Yeah, I remember talking to Landmaster, who is one of the Portswigger certified people to do that, and he said pretty much the best way to deal with app pinning is essentially tell the developer to build one that's not pinned.
Yeah, it's not pinned.
Yeah, so like even in Burp Suite, there's not much of a workaround in it. I mean, it's the way it's the nature of it. So
yeah,
it's kind of good. It makes me feel a little bit better on the security side of it.
I think if you're already good at the decompile compile stuff, you could pull the certificate out of the app and then put it inside of Burp Suite. I'm thinking, but that might not be how it works. Hardware costs. So a lot of times you don't have the hardware to run an Android. Then there's ARM, ARM-HF, x86. There's the Hacksteam stuff, which I was talking about, which makes emulation faster in Windows. And then like root binaries, meaning, which I had already explained. So if you're running a certain type of emulation, and then you got to be cognizant of what binaries are putting on there on the Android emulator to match what you're actually playing with.
I assume when you go to like Google Play Store, it automatically knows which one you're doing and automatically downloads it.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into like when you go to download something from the Play Store. There's a thing called build prop, and build prop defines like what your phone is or what your device is. And even then, I don't understand how it works. It has some magical stuff that it does, because you can actually tell your device, I can take a build prop from a different phone that works perfectly fine, and then I'll try to install an app that I know that phone supports, and it'll say it doesn't support this device. So somehow, I think what Google Play does is it probably like checks the hardware, or it has some checks of its own that it checks, and it like overwrites the build prop. So it'll be like, this is like a giant monitor or something. So the display is like 1024 by 768. This obviously isn't a Nexus 7 tablet, so then it pulls up or it looks for certain types of hardware. I don't know how it works, but it does other checks. So there's other ones out there. If you've ever heard like BlueStacks, Immersion, NEOISF. If you've ever messed with any of those, they're all horrible. They're garbage. Don't use them. I heard the actual Google's new one, their new emulator, is better than the older one. But I don't know, again, if it supports the Intel hexing stuff. The Nox player just works. I don't know how, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, so these are kind of like what the initial goals here for the setup was. I wanted like an SDK that I could like manage my own images and you can then do like forensics or even or separate out engagements. So when I did pen testing for a particular device, I could have an image of a blank image I work with, do all stuff with it, and then I could capture that image and then save it. So if I need to do some logs from it or whatever. I wanted it to be fast, so I wanted the accelerated emulation hexing and stuff for Intel. I wanted it simple and portable. It just had everything you needed. Had its own Java, had its own purpose suite, had its own emulator. Ideally, I wanted it to be with no administrator, but I think something about storage devices or the way the acceleration works when you run Nox as not an administrator, the hardware acceleration doesn't work. That was most of the pieces. Common Android toolset, so I wanted the toolset to already all be in there for the different tools I use for Android stuff. And then what I was talking about was build prop, the build prop files, and then you like extra PLLs to make games work. So not only do you have like Google Play checks, you got build prop, and you have Google Play that does some magic detecting. And then if you somehow manage to actually convince Google Play that you can actually install the APK, which you can normally pick the APK out of the device, then you just push it there, which I've done before. But then when you launch the actual apps up, it's trying to hook like the accelerated graphics driver of your phone or something, and it craps out, or it's trying to do some test for like, I don't know, something hardware based, it'll just crash. Or it'll either crash or say this device is not supported.
So I assume there's like a gigantic pool of like drivers that it references when they run this hero, execute the APK and all that.
I'm also thinking a lot of the games now are all like statically compiled binaries. So they, it's one of those things where they WYSIWYG game things, and you click the build button and it builds it for Android and iOS and Windows and all that crap. Then you're left with a single binary. Well, the problem with that is that binary, I'm making all this shit up, but I'm thinking that final binary is not x86. It won't work with the hexing stuff. So I'm thinking if I can run it through the old style regular RMHF emulation, then it might have better luck to work. But I think even then, you little fucking checks to make sure that your device has got the right aspect ratio or something. It'll work out.
Does not sound good at all.
No, it's not very fun. The Android x86 project is an open source, mostly open source, almost IDE approved. But the problem with that is that this is kind of like a single click binary. It's kind of close to what I was looking for, but it doesn't have the I don't think it has the speed in it. It might not have the hacks for the speed. And then games don't work out of the box. So a lot of the stuff that Nox does, I don't know what it does. There's like all these weird DLLs in there with the emulator. I don't know what Nox does, but it's more than just the build prop that makes it look like and make certain games run. So I think what they actually do is like reverse the games or somehow force the games to work for different things. So like, for example, if they release a new game and everybody's playing, it won't work on Nox for like a while. And then all of a sudden it'll say that this game works. Like what was the Pokemon one?
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon was like, Pokemon works on Nox. And it's like, nobody cares. That's okay. So I think what happens is they somehow reverse, they look at the code, they say, well, it crashed here. okay, we need to like quick load this DLL. I don't know how they do it.
They might actually like submit a prompt.
Yeah.
Their own build prompt just for knobs.
Yeah, maybe they, I don't know, whatever they're doing, it's definitely shenanigans. It's not like kosher by anybody. Yeah, it's probably not super complicated, but it's definitely more than the build prompt stuff. I found Nox Player fairly recently, a couple of years ago. It's NOx at Player. It's idiot proof. It's like BlueStacks, but it's not horrible. And you get root. You can click a button that says "Give me root" right out of the box. It actually has ADB built into it, and it's this weird cookie ADB. It's not like your classic. It's like ADB_Nox, and it does some weird cooking.
Is that like the standard Android? Does that be like update your Android?
No, not to my knowledge. It's its own binary, and it's all in its own folders.
Okay.
It's not like messing with any kind of environment variable folder paths or anything.
I think some of them call the ADB that's installed separately for Android development.
Yeah, and then most of the games work. And that's a screenshot of just turning on root. It's just a matter of going to the little settings button. You go root, give me root. And the weird thing about it is it's like from the small I can tell it's like and I'm like, and I've looked at the traffic going across it, and it pulls out to a little server or whatever, and it tells you stats about like your unique IP device. But as far as it doing anything nefarious, I haven't watched it for large period of time. The first thing you do is you give it root, and you go and uninstall basically the launcher, and their launcher is their adware. So you give yourself root, install like Nova launcher with any kind of launcher. It's like an alternative desktop basically. So you can install a Nova, and then once you install Nova, you can get rid of their stupid launcher, and it won't have all the crazy ads. The tool setup, this is on the Android side. You saw the screen for Juice. The 64-bit tested only. I've actually tested all the emulation options. This portable version has Java 8 64-bit and whatever version of Burp Suite 3. I actually found a USB stick I brought it with me. And working with a trash Google account, it actually doesn't work because again, it doesn't keep all the data. It's like somewhere in app data. So the screenshot here in the lower left is basically showing the default route, which in this instance is 10.0.22, possibly. 10.0.22 is the right one for each zero.
Okay.
I don't know why there's 3 other interfaces on it. I think what it does is each one is for different things. So they have like a drag and drop compatibility where you can drag it over the top of the Nox player and it'll install APK. They have the ADB from outside of the emulator. I think under the hood it's actually some kind of weird variant of it looks and smells a lot like Oracle's VirtualBox.
Okay.
But I was not able to like just arbitrarily mount it.
Is one of those like a bridge for Wi-Fi? Like what Wi-Fi on it?
Yeah, I think it's just a bunch of bridge devices and whatever. I don't know what they're all for, but I know 2.2 will get you out to that you aim out to get out to the internet through the host machine. The FS cert installer is basically the easiest way to do to snip the SSL traffic. So if it doesn't have SSL pinning, then you can use this is Foundstone's cert installer, and I'll show you this if we get a quick app to open up. But it basically automates a lot of the certificate installation and stuff like that. There's one other one I played with, and it just didn't want to work right. Sometimes even this one doesn't work right when it's already got like cached in there or something. I don't know.
So FS cert will also auto copy the traffic then too?
Yeah, this helps you set up the certificate with the right host name. So, for example, sometimes you'll run an instance where the apps go to more than one place. And and you have to actually set up more than one burp listener, it's ridiculous. So the way Android works is that if you're going to break SSL, you can only break SSL for one thing at a time. If you go in and put multiple, if maybe the login session is done by like login.moron.com, this IP. And then, for example, the actual game runs over like Amazon Cloud something or other, right?
No,
so you'll have to get the IP to the Amazon Cloud thing, and you'll have to get the IP to the logon servers to see like all that traffic. Now, sometimes you can just put an arbitrary SSL certificate in there, and it'll work with the app. But other times, it doesn't want to script all. This is just basically the proxy tool. For preset period, listen all. You want to tell it to listen to all interfaces, so that way you can hear yourself from the host machine. Turn off interceptor, so that's sort of install certs. Kind of a reminder to myself more.
Yeah, we all fail on the interceptor part. There's many times where I'm like, why is this not? Oh,
yeah. Well, I'll go and install the certificate to get the SSL broken. And then I'm waiting for the certificate to work, and the app is crashing because Burp Suite is waiting for the request to go through. Some other hacking tools that are really great. Loki Patcher is basically an all-in-one APK hacking tool that runs on the phone itself. So Loki Patcher has custom patches for all kinds of different apps and stuff. Mostly it's apps, but like do stupid stuff like turn on some kind of feature or bypass. Usually it's to bypass ads or unlock premium features or whatever. Opinion backups, good for sharing and backing up APKs. SQLite editor is kind of cool for pulling up the SQLite files that a lot of Android apps use for database stuff. So if you want to take a quick look at a database file and be like, oh well, there's a 1 here, and to unlock it, you put a 0, or unlock premium feature 1, 0. Okay, well, unlock premium feature 1, 1, and see what happens. So sometimes it's as simple as that. Burp Suite, obviously, for inspecting the traffic, which is the tool you put on a host machine. Exposed is kind of like Lucky Patcher, but it dynamically hooks applications. I don't think they have it working, or ever will maybe not get it working for 7.1, whatever the new architecture is. But it does work for the older architecture, the Android stuff. Basically, Exposed would allow you to basically dynamically modify a APK. So instead of like hacking the APK, changing it, uploading it, reinstalling it, you can have Exposed sitting on top with all these modules turned on. And so, for example, if you have a good email internet client or a good email client for your work, when it goes to call the check for see if you have root, Exposed picks it up and says, hey, I got a module for this good app. And when good calls to say, hey, do you have root, Exposed is like, nope, I don't have root, and then hands it back off and like null functions it out. Game Hacker is good for like memory scanner stuff if you're fussing around with games.
I always wondered that too, how they get around root detection. Because I know you can always just call it root or not.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I know like Pokemon Go would instantly ban anything
really
that would have root account. But
really?
I think there are some apps that do that because they're afraid that Pokemon Go, people were doing the GPS cheating.
Oh yeah, it's all like blindside too.
Yes. So you could just pretty much say, hey, I'm in New York, I'm the busiest area in the world, and I'm at this Pokemon Get type of thing. And I heard a lot of people use that. That makes sense.
I think they have an Exposed module that just automatically does this all for you now. It's all like basically plain text. Here's a quick screenshot of me messing with the Pirates of the Caribbean game, which came out probably 2 to 3 years ago. And
I assume that's pretty high level then? There's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the post, and I was looking at the post. So I pick up a crate, and I say, can I pick up this crate again? Like, nope, you've already picked up this crate. All right, well, can I add a 1 to this crate? Nope, that's an invalid ID. So I looked at the response that I send back to the server, and every time you do anything, you send all your stats back to the server. But, that's not gonna work. So I was like, put 999 in front of every single number and send back to the server. And then refresh, the next thing I see is that. And like 20 minutes later, my account just like stops working. But the thing that you get charged for is like these gems, which is I think the upper right, which like you pay for. It's like the premium thing you pay for.
I'm sure if you alter all the other settings, they wouldn't care, just the gem part.
Yeah. But yeah, then there's only 201 max levels. I did max 99991.
Now, did they obfuscate the XML? I assume it's like XML commands.
No. A lot of the new stuff nowadays is all SSL pin, and then if you can see something, it's like encrypted stuff. So you'll see like a bunch of JSON or something, and then inside of the payload, you'll see an encrypted payload of like what you're doing with the game. And you slip one bit in there, and of course it breaks the encryption, and it just crashes the game.
Okay.
Or it times out or something like that. That's yours, so I'll try to jump into the demos. I know I ran through that pretty quick. I don't know if you guys have any general questions about like, so you said you're iOS, you used Android before, have you done any APK stuff? You're messing around with APKs or anything?
Anybody from NEOISF done any Android hacking, APK?
Shenanigans?
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of shaking heads here.
Was that?
Cool. All right, so based on that, I'll start at a little bit higher level. So basically, all of this was all a means to an end to basically try to test mobile applications, right? The idea there is that if I can get to where I can hack these games, these freemium games that are like locked down so tight you can't do anything with them. If I can hack the premium games, then I can pretty much hack anything. Like bank apps, mobile apps, like even like secure login apps and like document. Document and secure document, whatever those things are all implemented in properly and stuff. So that was the original idea. Hopefully, it kind of show you some of the basic tools. We'll go over some of the basic tools for Android stuff. We'll find a good set of just the Android basics. If we have time, or if y'all want, we can jump into more crazy stuff. It's actually
Security Shepherd? Yeah, they do actually have APKs in there that you mess with. I have not touched at all. Something actually we should probably do on another separate meeting. They're not that far off. I mean, they're just web requests. The stuff he's talking about now is nearly impossible. SSL pin and also everything in the JSON request are encrypted. But in those actual security shepherds, it's going to be like JSON request that you can like hack apart. Was that?
Probably fairly simple.
I mean, once you learn it, yeah, I'm sure everything's simple once you learn it.
Yeah, I think even the newer versions of this Lucky Patcher actually have a modded Play Store. So
Android ransomware on there.
Yeah, well, I just assume this is all malware that I'm running. And that's why I didn't want to have to run Nox as admin, because that makes me nervous. So the idea there is there's one other decent hacked up Play Store app out there, but Lucky Patcher actually works pretty decent, pretty good. The idea there is it stubs the Google Play Store. So the way they have it designed, and all the newer hotness apps, it doesn't work on anything. But if it's a little podunk app, if you ever been in a game that they have in-app purchases, that's handled kind of differently, at least for Android. So the way it works is you find the original app through the Play Store, or you get the app for free through the Play Store, and then when you run it, you're running the app, and then you click a thing that says send me $1. It goes out to the Play Store and says, hey, Play Store, I sent, I want to send $1, you send $1 in Google, and the Play Store responds back and says, hey, hit $1. Well, the way these Play Stores, modern Play Stores work, is that they're like a stub for the Play Store, the market. So when you're in the app and you say, hey, I want to unlock, this feature, the stub will go out, talk to Lucky Patcher says, blah, 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 yes, it is, and, put in garbage for whatever you want. And then when it gets back to the app is like, yeah, you paid. And then it unlocks the thing for, at least for that specific account and install it. And then sometimes you have to kind of monkey around with it, certain stuff to work. But to start, the coolest, you want to get root to first start, where you can't really do a whole lot of anything without root, obviously.
Except all.
They also have a little known feature in here that's called, they have a host file, like the old school days. They had a thing called a host file, block ads. And it'll install a host file to old school host files, like block ads and stuff. So it kind of works. It's not nowhere near something like that.
So it's Jay talking about
What's it done?
the Raspberry Pi for the DNS pinhole.
Oh yeah, Pi-hole.
Pi-hole.
Yeah, I tried to I actually mostly successfully converted all the DNS Pi-hole scripts to Windows and parsed out most of it, and then I ended up with like a 14 meg host file, and Windows just stopped. Because like every time it went to send out a packet, it was like, oh, gotta see if it's in the host file. Oh, gotta see if it's in the host file, and it just crashed. And it came completely, like it couldn't do anything. Yeah. So I think I eventually killed it enough. I think I had to log out and start a shell before it actually did anything. But yeah, that was a bad idea. Because some of the stuff in there in the PyScript is actually like script block. Because like HTML, they get all that stuff out.
Nice. Yeah, the tomato router I have, there's also like an ad block on there, just like part of the menu. So you don't even have to do like a separate DNS.
I don't know, I saw Pokemon. Sweet. Like crap. But some of the features you'll like to see.
Now, you're running two different versions of Lucky Patcher, or?
Yeah, it'll change itself when the unique ID of the app changes. Every time it changes, you'll end up with either multiple icons, or it'll read stuff. It'll read prompt for the root access. So a lot of the default stuff is they'll have patches for ads. You can say open in menu of patches, remove Google ads. It usually works, and there's several methods in there to get rid of ads.
Interesting.
The in-app and LVL emulation is basically for the in-app purchases. So you can actually.
So wait, does it bypass it and give you the paid version, or?
It tries to. So if you use the default wherever way Google implements in-app purchases, it may or may not work depending on how they implement it. It's less nowadays, depending on the app. If it's a super popular app, it's probably not going nowhere. But if it's like a little podunk app or whatever, certain parts of it will work. And even within this, you can actually send people modified APKs. So for example, like if you wanted to, there's actually, I'll do a good one that I know actually works. Color switch. This is what my niece was playing, and of course, if you've ever played any of these freemium games, dear God, they're so horrible with the ads. Like you die twice, and then this big pop-up comes, and like you have to like click the X, and then the X moves over to like the other side of the page, and click over here. And if you click anywhere else besides that little tiny X, right, it like brings up the ad to install whatever software. So this one is notoriously horrible for it. No, where my audio was. Oh, I'm typing the green. Here. Yeah, and a lot of stuff is through. I don't want to do any of that. A lot of the games hook Google Play's gaming API stuff to do like keep track of your scores or whatever it is.
Yeah, full stats. I think even not just Google Play, like all games now do that.
Yeah, and that makes it more difficult to like do shenanigans. Yeah, if it's got that. So I'll die like 3 times here and show you. Oh, well, if you see right here, it says wish.com. It's in the bottom. That's actually a really cool website, by the way. Oh, look, now we have this ad that's like super obnoxious.
Even more obnoxious, they will probably keep dropping down in front of you.
Yeah, and there's an X. Like, that's click the X, and then it closes out. Oh, look, here's another one. Now I have to wait for the X again. And then
it's in a different spot, yeah.
Yeah, it's in a different fucking spot. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrible. So the first thing I do before I'm monkeying with anything is I'll go into the app itself and kill it, make sure it's not running. I don't think it really matters. It gives me peace of mind. And depending on what version of Android you're running, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I'll clear data, but most of the time I won't. So we go into the catcher, see how we have 2. I don't know which one's which. Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two again?
One is, so it has an automatic updater that'll run.
Okay.
Here. It has an automatic updater that'll automatically check itself every time it runs. So this is the old one, I'm pretty sure.
Actually, pretty quick though. Response and all that.
Yeah, this is the enhanced Hexium crazy Intel stuff. You'll notice the difference. It'll take a fair amount of time to load with a regular Android, even Android. Yeah. The regular ARM emulation is slow as shit, like man.
Yeah.
ARM HF is almost doable. That's what you'll see if you ever put Kali. If you ever put Kali on like a Pi, or you put Kali on whatever, it's using the ARM HF binary, which is like, I don't know what the HF stands for, like, super fast. But it's not even nowhere near as fast as the acceleration for here. So in-app purchases found, Google Ads found. So we can try to go in here and your patches, renew ads, turn off Google Ads, patch remove Google Ads. Like, I don't even know. It has so many options nowadays. License verification, I think that's it. You can actually change the components, so if it's doing certain things you don't want it to do, you can actually turn off like functions within the application that just basically make it crash when it tries to follow those functions.
Okay, so like function as in like use GPS or something like that?
Yeah, so you can say, don't, like, if it wants to use the GPS and like not asking you or something, you can go in there and evaluate like the app permissions, basically. I think that's what this is supposed to be. But every time I've ever messed with it and looked at how some of these work, is that it just crashes the app and doesn't actually do it, because it's looking for a response back from that thing, and then when it gets like null or like, it just kicks crap. Let's see. Yeah, it used to be different than that. I think they've changed the way they do the ad blocks stuff. Because it used to be basically it searches the APK for like the calls, the function calls.
Well, I think
or the Google Ads stuff.
When you did that, you just disabled the actual server doing like a patch
Yeah, maybe it's, oh, okay, this is what you're looking for, the patch remove. So this will actually patch the APK, or attempt to.
There's been ways to do it.
Oh, there's like all kinds of different options you can do.
Corrupt ad receiver.
Yeah, I'm like, it's got way too many options to the point that there's really only two ways. There's like this, and then there's that one, I think. Or there's that one, the minimize ads, and then that one. Check them all. But this is the one I was talking about. This is the old way they would do it, where you actually it crawls through the code, it crawls through the bytecode and looks for those calls, and then just looks like a null pointer.
Probably crash now with that.
Usually the app will, usually the app will still run. The app will run, but it won't actually do anything. And at the end, it'll give you a success, which never made any sense to me. So N1, N3, N5, N6, these probably mean different levels of how they implement the ad thing. And then here's a 70% luck. Like, okay.
You give a luck rating.
Yeah. Like how it does what it does, I have little to no idea what each level of those things mean.
When you get like if it's 0% luck, it just tells you you're screwed or something like that.
Well, 0 or whatever a low number means that it's not actually using Google Ads, or it might be using both. So a lot of them have like three different ad providers in them. So you'll have Google Ads, and they'll have some other embedded ad from some other crap software called Crash. I got the whole thing. Oh no. It worked. No. It worked on, actually I patched it on my wife's phone and sent it back to myself without any ads on it. It might be that we doubled down on the. No, there it is. It worked on my wife's stuff.
Well, the ads are not there on the bottom. Oh no, that's still there.
Yeah, but that's not. But usually you have to futz with it, and you'll know pretty quickly if it doesn't appear to do anything at all, and not do anything at all. They're not using Google Ads. They're using some kind of other hook. Here's in-app purchases. So that's where the App Store hack stuff comes in, where you can, for in-app, I haven't really messed with
what's LLL or LDL emulation?
I think that means like the Play Store stuff. How it means the Play Store. Probably, yeah, in-app purchases. I don't know what LDL means though. LDL app licensing, maybe.
Oh yeah, license verification library.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So it emulates that whole verification process on it itself.
Yeah, so a lot of these will have, buy a gem or buy a whatever. Most of the time those don't. The bypass, the in-app stuff, like something this big, usually won't work. Well, now it's all set. Because I hacked like 3 times.
We're going to install it and then reinstall it.
Yeah, I'll reinstall it because I like destroyed it.
Keep removing bytecode and then eventually it'll just corrupt itself.
Yeah.
Too far.
It worked. Yeah, it worked fine on Academies because I wouldn't mind playing it. That the guy like 3 times after play for like 40 minutes. Naughty Quest 77782. Not sure where that name came from. That's very honest. I actually gave away this account, so maybe somebody at some point in time did it. It won't even run. It won't even run normally. without crashing in the emulator. So I'm trying to do something, probably with Google Play games. No, when you actually uninstall the app, it takes all the cache with it. That's just crazy. Yeah, looks like it. Guess what this is. It doesn't like Google Play. I think that's actually Google Play kind of crap. Yeah, he got rid of the little banner on the bottom there.
So for Android, I'm trying to create like a VM of some sort. Create like, especially for training purposes, like a test target you want to attack.
Yeah.
And I use Kali as my attacking system, VM. So there's no Android VMs that are out there that I can go get or ISO or something that, and so this is what you have to do instead.
Pretty much. I think even, no, that was somebody else doing something with Kali. But you can sideload Kali using the chroot method, which is the change root method. You can basically mount an ARM-HF ISO using the chroot method, and then you can run most of the Kali tools with like almost any Android device. Now that all depends on the hardware supported. So like you're not going to be able to do like packet injection on a phone or something. There's only a few devices that let you do that. You have to be like an external.
So what you're saying is sideloaded so that you can access the Kali stuff inside Android.
Yeah, the best way to get started with really any of this is just get the Knox app player, start looking at Lucky Patcher, start understanding how things like Lucky Patcher work, and then I would start looking at some of the exposed modules are really cool. The exposed framework, they'll have like all kinds of links for like, what's the Snapchat thing? So they have one for Snapchat that's like download all the keep all the Snapchat pictures or whatever. There's all kinds of mods for like power and battery life for all that stuff. Lucky Patcher's pretty cool. As far as just looking at traffic, that's where this comes in, and actually trying to figure out what apps are doing when they're doing them. So maybe I can put this to work. So I've got Burp Suite listening on all interfaces. So I've gone in here and clicked on all interfaces, but this is on the older video. That video is all this stuff. I go into FS Search Installer, and I can put whatever I want here. Whatever you want, basically, crack, or look whatever traffic you want to look at. Option 0. The newer version, the IP is completely different. It's like 172 something. So basically what we're doing here is we're Google won't let you install certificates without setting a password or it. Yay! So now we've successfully basically pulled the certificate from Burp Suite into this emulator using the FS Search Installer. So now in theory,
What circuit were you pulling into it?
the one for Burke Suite.
Okay.
So
So you have your local
Yeah.
circuit in that inside of the FS.
yeah,
With
so
that middle. Okay.
yeah, so it's essentially the same as doing like Burke. I'm not.
Okay.
Um,
Is that what you mean then?
So once you're ready, once you've installed the certificate and you're ready to like intercept traffic, Proxy Droid is the best one I've seen by far to capture all the traffic from all your apps or one or two. Pretty basic settings, same as the video, same as the certificate. Port type, port's going to be 8080. And once it's all said and done, in theory, turn this on.
Okay, so it proxies everything through that then?
Yeah, and you can do app specific stuff too. So in theory, it should.
Yeah, Google.
Might not be all of it.
That's taking a little bit to load.
Yeah. Okay. So see how it says. Sometimes it'll look weird in Burke Suite the way Android works. That's why you have to do sometimes you have to do multiple listeners for multiple SSL things, depending on I don't know why or how it has to do. But if you see it coming in, it doesn't come in as Google.com. It comes in as just that whatever.
Yeah.
And then it says host, gstatic or Google.com.
Yeah, that's
like
we're actually
Google.
encrypted and the rest of them encrypted.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Um,
Wonder if there is like a burp add-on you can do from that to decrypt that.
There's actually, let me say that there's actually a helper app that I didn't have a chance to look at that's supposed to help with this stuff. But I don't think it actually does anything more than what I'm already doing.
Gotcha.
So we can take something small, for example. It's like a little. You can usually kind of get an idea of like what kind of apps are going to work. Oh, this Stranger Things game came out quite a bit. I don't actually have Team Connector on it, but this definitely probably has traffic and stuff on it. The way it works.
Justin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You said you have another presentation that's has to go today?
We were looking to, yeah. Were you
Okay.
guys getting close to the end?
You're a little far away.
Were you guys pretty close to the end?
Yeah, you're fine, whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
poking around doing demos, so.
All right, well, I'll go, if you don't mind, I'll let you guys go, and we'll get our next talk on the way.
Cool.
Okay, sounds good, man. Yeah, just go ahead and exit out and we'll just do our stuff here then.
Thanks so much for presenting, and thank you.
All right.
Ready?
Okay. Yep. Now.
Do you need a mic or do you want me to just be loud?
You can.
I don't need one.
I know, but people can hear you then if I record it. Otherwise, it's just, yeah.
If you don't mind, I don't mind. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever's easiest for you.
Right hand side of the ear.
Test, test. All right.
feel like I'm gonna sell you guys a book at the end of this.
Are you?
I might. Awesome. Hi everybody, my name is Jamie Murdoch, and this presentation is Bridging the Gap Between Red and Blue, version 1.1. Version 1.0 was given given by myself and David Kennedy at DerbyCon something or other. So this has been modified just a little bit.
5, right?
I think it was 5, was it?
I think so.
Sweet. It's a little bit about me. It doesn't really matter that much, but been doing this for 20 years. Presented at a few conferences. I'm a father, a husband, former Marine, and I'm a gamer. And again, this presentation was originally presented with Dave at DerbyCon. So there is like some of his material in here too. So thank you, Dave. Okay, why did we originally give this talk, and why did I decide to give this talk again? Surprising to everybody, breaches are still happening. Large breaches are still happening. I think there was one by some credit check company or something recently, but we still see them. Hackers like money, and it's becoming a big business. It was starting to become a big business when we first gave this presentation. It's becoming an even bigger business. And unless the dynamics of information security actually change, it's going to still happen, and it's going to continue to get worse. Harold.
So is it that hackers like money, or is it criminals like money and are developing hackers?
So the question was, is it that hackers like money, or do criminals like money and are developing hacker skills? The answer is yes. Hackers like money, but more importantly, and I think the point you make is that criminals are developing and have been developing hacking skills, and that's very true. I'm actually going to hit on that a little bit later, mind reader. All right, a little bit of past to present. Large data breaches, all the time. The thing is that each one of these large data breaches, we're failing somewhere. It's not that attackers have gotten that much better. It's not that, you know, we, the good guys, have gotten that much worse. There's some flaw that we have missed somewhere along the way that have allowed these breaches to continue and to proliferate throughout, you know, the network once they actually get inside. For an attacker, one time is all you really need to be successful. If we're defending, we have to be right 100% of the time. And of course, that's impossible. So, why are we seeing things like this? Why are we still failing in some things? The ability to detect and to defend against hackers and the environment that's continuously changing is extremely difficult. How many here do any kind of defense, monitoring, detection, log review, anything like that? Yeah, right? How many here read every packet that goes across the wire, looks at every log source? Harold does. I know that. Justin does. Those are weird guys. Most of us don't. And we can't. It's impossible. So we have to rely on tools. We have to rely on our expertise. And when we do these things, it still makes it very hard to detect what's real, what's a real security event, and you know what's not. Is it good or is it bad? Is it live or Memorex? I see a couple of people who actually got that. That's cool. For those of you who go, what the heck is he talking about? See me later. So methods of attacks. I did have to do a little bit of work to this slide. We're seeing the same attack vectors. Who here knows what SQL injection is? Who here knows what patching is for? Who here knows what social engineering and phishing and all these other things are for? It's the same thing that people have been using since, you know, somebody put a program on a floppy disk that said it was an AIDS test and said, go put this into your computer so you can check. That was actually the first ransomware. That's how it was distributed.
Don't copy that flop.
Too late. I have it on 5 1/4. Now the thing is, though, payloads have changed, and the damage of those payloads that can do, that kind of stuff has changed. So that, when we're talking about seeing more advanced attacks, forget what the news says, because they're going to tell you that, Company X got hacked through a massive advanced, hacking technique, which is called, I sent you an email and you opened it and clicked on the link. But the damage that spread is increasing, and it is really getting worse. You're seeing everything as a service right now, right? How many of you are aware that there's a really excellent business called ransomware as a service? Very profitable, very easy to do. Botnets as a service. Criminals, instead of hackers, criminals actually take good notes. They take the intellectual property of successful business models and use that in their attacks. I've said this a million times. Customer service for a ransomware as a service, for example, or I want to rent or buy a botnet, their customer service is better than you're going to get from Microsoft, from Dell, from HP, or anybody else, because they actually really care about their product. Maybe not you, but they need to keep a good reputation. Now, when we first gave this presentation, it was less focused on security. That's not really true anymore. Because of the media attention, because of breaches that affect major name brands, we're actually seeing more focus on security. However, that's good and bad. So the focus we have on security now, it goes to the board, it's in executive management, it's in shareholders. All these people say, wow, this could affect our brand, this could affect our bottom line, our clients, our patients, whoever it is. So we need to find this cool tool, this blinky box, because it says it'll stop ransomware. So I want that $250,000 blinky box and the $10,000 implementation cost. Oh, and your training dollars that you thought you were going to use to go to SANS? No, I'm going to send you to Blinky Box School, because that's more important. Even though there is focus on security, again, it's not the right focus. Last month I was getting my throat cut open. The month before that, I gave a presentation on going back to the old school, which talked about focusing on actual skills, not product. And that's the main thing I mean by this slide here, which I was saying back at DerbyCon 5. We're not putting the right focus on training or in security in general. Now, who feels that they have not been breached? Whatever company, organization you work for, who here feels that they have never been breached and they know they have not been breached? Exactly. Smart people in this room. I've asked the same question before, and I've seen a couple of hands as we're going to talk. Who here feels that confident that a skilled attacker, if they went after you right now, that you would know it? Now, it's okay to be a little confident in that. I mean, depending on the maturity of your security program, I'm not saying that they can't get in. It's just, would you think you could see them? So, hopefully, you might see some sign of them. But more importantly, let's say you see them. How many people think that either you or your department or your organization would know what to do if you found them? How are you going to respond? Anyone feel confident in their own skill set, the company skills, or the department skills of your company? Okay? It's a problem. And it has nothing to do with any individual person or people in this room. It's just a problem we're still seeing in our industry. And unfortunately, it's a problem that we've known we've had for decades. But, the powers that be, yeah, they're starting to see more and more that security is important. And yeah, they're seeing more and more that, the help we've been yelling and screaming for, that it's important. They just don't understand what's important about security, where they should really focus on. So let's shift some dynamics around. We need to focus our defenses against attackers. It's a standard model. It's something that we've always said we need to do. So let's internalize that. This presentation isn't as much about how to get the board or management or whoever else to listen to us, but Let's shift how we actually do it internally. So today, we own a lot of stuff, and we're owning more and more stuff every year because new attacks, new technology to stop attacks. I want to buy that because we actually have security dollars now. Then we get more stuff, we blow more stuff up. Then we write reports on how we blew stuff up. It's kind of like Red Team 101, you know. I'm not a pen tester, so you might ask me some pen test questions and I'm going to be like, hey, pen testers, raise your hands, ask that person. But at the end of the day, this is pretty common knowledge industry-wide. You go in, you try to blow something up, you write a report on it. So then, us good guys, we get the report and we say, this is great. This is going to help get me to the point of advancing the maturity of my security program. So we're going to fix all these technical things. You know, we might even do some covert testing, you know, after we pay for our penetration test, just to see how, you know, how well we're doing. Can we blow stuff up in that way? But are we going to do like any kind of standard operating procedure updates? Are we going to do any kind of after-action report after our penetration test? Are we going to do any kind of tuning of our technologies, of our SIM, of our east-west traffic monitoring device, of our, you know, I'll protect anything that can ever happen to your host software? No, why would we? You know, that kind of stuff makes sense. We don't want to. We want to focus on, you know, what's the next blinky box. Did I go in too far? Nope. Okay, cool. Now, I can't speak to the validity of this slide, if it's actually still true or not, but I wanted to leave it in here, just for a food for thought thing. At least when Dave gave this portion of the presentation a couple years ago, this was true. We don't really technically do pen testing anymore. It's more of a vulnerability scan and write-up. Again, I'm not a pen tester. Some of y'all who might be pen testers in here might disagree with that, and I really hope you are, in general, for your side of the industry. But I will be honest with you, I had to hire a company to do a pen test for a PCI environment, to do you know, just regular PCI pen test, and I got back a vulnerability scan. And I said, time out, read PCI, because you can't just give me a vulnerability scan, and they got fired. So, move to the term red team, because it's actually a military term. It's the attackers, it's the bad guys. But again, you can call yourself anything you want. If you're not changing your methods, then it doesn't matter what you call yourself. So from a pen test side, we need to evolve, and I modified Dave's slide here a little bit. So getting domain admin is sexy. Yeah, that's really cool. But if you get domain admin, does that mean you won? Did you get the keys to the kingdom or not? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends. Now, can you have a successful pen test without getting domain admin? Hell yes, you can. If you can get to what really matters to that organization, whether it's credit card numbers, intellectual property, client information, personal information, whatever it is that company holds dear, whatever that data is, that if you get access to that, that is a successful pen test, in my mind. If I hire a company to do a pen test, and they come to me and they say, here's your report, here are all the technical findings, we got domain admin, booyah. I say, wow, that's good to know, this is information I need so I can improve my security program, but did you get to this segment of my network? Did you get this information? No, but I got domain admin. Okay, well, to me, you failed. From a technical perspective, yeah, you did the old school win, so to speak, and got domain admin. But if you can't get my key data, you lost, man. I won. Whoops. Almost missed one, sorry. So where we're going with this, because it is bridging red and blue, right? This is old news. This is something that has been going around for a while. It's leading up to a new color. I'm sure everyone knows what color is coming. However, it's still true. A lot of people have gotten up and talked about it, but you still don't see a lot of it. And I used to work for an MSSP that's based in Hudson, Ohio, and there were a couple people here who worked there. And I know this one gentleman over here, Frank. Frank always knows, or Frank knows that I've always said this. If you want to be good at defense, you have to have at least a good understanding of a hacker's techniques and mentalities. So I usually involve threat intelligence in some way, shape, or form in all my presentations. I was going to take this out, but I actually decided to keep it because it's still true. By proactively utilizing threat intelligence, you can actually increase your monitoring capabilities and decrease your response time. Now, timeout, because I know threat intelligence is a bad word. It's a great buzzword. But true threat intelligence is that. It's actually looking for threats to your company and organization. It's not a list of bad IPs or any of that shit. It's looking for true threats in your organization. They may be technical, they may be physical, they may be harassment, they may be brand reputation. But if you gather this information and you monitor for that, it will help you in increasing your monitoring and actually decreasing your response time. One of the best things you can do with threat intelligence on the technical side, which also still goes beyond just the ones and zeros, the bad IP addresses and things like that, is incorporate that into your content. So whether it's a SIM or whether it's a new tool you got to monitor east-west traffic or any of these other new things out there that say I'm a SIM replacement. Feed this content into it. There's a few, of course I can't remember off the top of my head, there's a few open source tools that you can utilize that will ingest threat intelligence feeds, and you can also create your own in there, and then automatically generate snort signatures and all these other great things. They have SIM plugins. If you ask me after the presentation and hit me a couple of times, I'll probably remember. Just don't hit me in the neck. But you can take this data, you can take this information and actually utilize it to make your defenses better. Now, going back to the red team, attacks occur and maybe they're picked up, maybe they're not. The thing is, they can find one flaw. We talked about this briefly before. They can find one flaw, and from there, boom, lateral movement, post exploitation, and then you get further and further down the rabbit hole. Whereas, us blue teamers, we're working on 10 million projects, we're overworked, understaffed, and we can only make one mistake. And then all of a sudden, everything goes to pop. We have to deal with patch management. We have to deal with people whining and complaining because we want them to patch things, which is, why would we want that? And we're trying to monitor everything we can that's going on inside that company. And I actually didn't even put in the whole fun side of governance, risk, and compliance, which we still have to take care of. And usually, in most organizations, that falls in InfoSec. But hey, no, you don't need any more people. You're doing fine. We're not breached. It is not possible for us to stop all the attacks. The red team will always win. And they always do. I mean, if you give them enough time, they will find their way in. Just because you give them a 1 week or a 2-day engagement, if they don't pop you inside of that time frame, that doesn't mean that if they continue to go after you, that they wouldn't be able to get you. So, what color is coming next? We've had red and blue. Purple. Somebody said green. Who said green? I was going to change the color to green.
Lavender.
Lavender? I actually don't know what shade this is, but yeah. So let's look at some purple team stuff. And I took out a lot of the other slides we had on purple team because at this point it's kind of been beat to death. But I just kept the stuff that's actually important. So purple team, right? Red and blue working together, skipping down the hill, running on the beach and dancing and shit. For the first few of your pen tests, you should not try to keep it from your blue team. You should not try to keep it from the people who are actually doing the monitoring and detection. You should sit down with them and actually kind of do your attack with them. Because this way, they're going to learn actually what it is that you're doing, why you're doing certain things, and how these attacks work. Because this way, they can actually go back and go, hey, you know what? We picked them up doing, you know, this port scan because they were super, super loud. But while they were doing that super, super loud port scan, and I was running and, you know, hopping all the fences trying to figure out, you know, what system it was and everything else, they're coming around the side and going low and silent, trying one user at a time with a password that they found somewhere else to see if anyone else had used it. Little tricks like that. Because I'll be honest with you, when I was first starting out in monitoring, if I saw something flashing red, I was focused on that, man. That was the thing I was doing, not looking for the other little seeds that might be falling. So it's important for pen testers, if you have an internal pen test team, to sit down and go over it with your blue team while they're doing it. And if you don't have one and you outsource it, put them right next to the guys who do the monitoring. Because that way it's only going to improve your program and they're going to learn. So there's a lot of noise in any tool. If you have a SIM, if you ever looked at a SIM, you're going to understand there's a lot of noise. Any other SIM replacement technologies that are out there now, same thing. So remove that stuff that you know is noise. Put it into a report. Set up automatic notifications for it. You know that that stuff is 9 times out of 10 benign. And yeah, you might mess up that one time. However, you also have to look at the risk. What's the risk of letting Jamie Murdoch's password has, I failed to type it in one time in 5 minutes. Do you need an alert on that? Of course not. And I would hope to God that most people don't have that, but little things like that, the risk in that of not investigating that alarm is lower. So there's always an assumption of risk when we're in the blue team side. Properly tune your tools to alert on what's most important to you. Now, if you just rely on reports solely, and you say, you know what, I have a SIM, cool. What do you do for monitoring? Do you have your internal SOC? Do you have people who work there? Do you have an MSSP? No, I get reports every morning, and I come in and I review my reports. Cool story, bro.
Okay. What if I'm 100% report based, but I have awesome reports, and I detect your breach? No more than 24 hours after it happens. Aren't I ahead of everyone else?
So the good question. The question is, you know, what if I have really awesome reports? I mean, I'm adding a little bit to it, but you know, I have better reports than anyone else, and I look at those reports, and 24 hours later, I looked at this report, and I caught your breach. Aren't I ahead of everybody else? Ish. I mean, at least there was some detection there, right? There was some detection. Now, you have a potential attacker who's had 24 hours of access in your system, so you're screwed probably. But it's not, it's above average. So I guess counterpoint would be, is getting just an email report better than nothing? Yes. However, if you have the capabilities, you have the technology, why wouldn't you automate your alerts instead of your reports? Answer your question. I know you did. So, out of the people here who do monitoring and detection or have anything to do with these kind of tools, or just in your organization that you're aware of, how much of the simple stuff is being blocked? And by simple stuff, I mean, I don't know, egress filtering, blocking, you know, communications between segments, any of these basic little things. Like, well, education awareness we're going to come back to. The little things, up-to-date software. Are we keeping up to date on Flash, by any chance? Any Adobe product ever made in the history of mankind? I mean, all these basic things. Uncategorized sites. Who here has a company that you're aware of that has any kind of web filtering? Okay, a few. So, Who knows, or raise your hand if you understand what uncategorized sites mean. Okay, for those of you who don't, an uncategorized site, whenever, let's say I spin up jamiemurdochsucks.com. It probably already exists, but let's say that I just got it. You got it? .net. I'll do .net. Let's say I spin that up. Well, WebSense and all their buddies are going to see that and go, oh, this site is less than 24 hours old, or whatever their threshold happens to be, and say, we don't have a category for this site yet. So it's going over here to our uncategorized sites. Well, at least I'm not familiar with all the different web filtering technologies. I know WebSense. Are they even still relevant, actually, real quick, because I haven't used them forever-ish? Blue Code? Yeah. So I know it's in there, and I know I literally just have to check a box that says don't let people go to this thing or in this category, but it's not checked. So I can create jamiemurdochsucks.net, and you're all going to go there because, like, yeah, he does. I'm going to see what it says. Oh, I have to run this plugin? Yeah, I'll run the plugin because Jamie Murdoch sucks and I want to see what it does. And then boom, I'm hit. Now, obviously, web filtration it's not the end-all be-all, but it's a simple thing we can do. There's no reason for an uncategorized site to be able to be accessed from a corporate environment at any time, with the caveat of a marketing team that spins up a new website that you don't know about, and they don't give you any IPs, and you don't get into the nuance of that, because yes, you can allow by IP, you can do all these other things. But let's just say it's an uncategorized site. And now all of a sudden, you have field reps who are going, WTF, I'm supposed to be going here to show a client this new product and blah, 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 and I can't get there. Well, that's where communication between business units and security comes into play. That's where policies and procedures come into play. But at the end of the day, we look at risk. It's a higher risk to allow these uncategorized sites to be accessed than the ass chewing I'm going to receive. Oh, and I don't know, I can't believe I almost forgot this one. Least restrictive possible access, i.e., no, I'm sorry, Bob. Just because you're an accounting wizard doesn't mean you get domain, or it doesn't mean you get admin to your local machine. I'm sure you can make a hell of a pie chart, but you don't need admin to do that. So let's look at some new things that we can do for detecting attacks. This one I changed a little bit too because technology changes. So niche tool X, lateral movement detection, deception technology, all this other stuff. You know, those are methods of detecting attacks. You know, I make fun of products, but there are good ones out there, and they do their job. Building a monitoring program, or outsourcing it to an MSSP. That's going to detect some stuff. Purple teaming, that's going to detect stuff too, but that's more not as much on a technical level as a skill set level. Host security software platform X. That one actually used to say antivirus. And threat intelligence. These are all detection capabilities, right? So, what do you think the two least important off this list are? Anyone? Or I'll just make them up. I know it's late and everyone's tired.
Niche tool.
Niche tool X. I heard that. What else? What?
Host security software.
Host security software X. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. If I had to knock two of these off the list because of budget reasons, no one's ever heard that before. Those are the two I would knock out. And I'll tell you exactly why. I would rather have a monitoring program so I can actually know what's going on out there than I would some new tool that's going to require implementation. It's going to require training. There goes my training dollars, so now I can't go to SANS. And then I'm still not going to be an expert on it because the thing just came out a year ago. And host security software X, same thing. You can put a beautiful face on a pig, and it's still going to be a pig. So you can call antivirus some new, cool host-based tool. It's still antivirus with spinners. And threat intelligence, I'd rather know what's going on out there in the out in the wild, in my vertical, and possibly against my own company. So, bringing sexy back. Yeah.
One thing, back to that last slide, the cool thing about that is like sometimes we rely too much on tools, and there's an age-old thing, people, process, technology. You build in people and process, and they're more apt to find things.
Absolutely.
Things, right?
So, yeah, the comment was, on this is, the old adage, people, process, technology, and we focus too much on technology, which I 100% agree with. And the funny thing is, for those of you who don't know me, MRK Technologies is a VAR, so I work for a company that sells technology. So, remember when I had that one job I liked? So Blue Team, it's not seen as sexy. And again, this was a few years ago. It's a little more sexy now. It's just not, it's still not as sexy. Because if you tell anyone who's not in InfoSec what you do for a living, I wish I would have had that picture, what I see, what everyone sees, all that crap. They're gonna see like hoodie hacker guy or girl. That's what they're gonna see, because our industry still isn't like that mainstream right there. So they think, oh, you're a hacker. Well, that's why a lot of people still want to go into the red team side of the house. They get to go in, smash things, blow things up, write reports, and leave in a cloud of dust. However, wrong one. And that is true, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the red team. I mean, they're important, and we have to have them. But I will say this, in my personal experience anyway, if you look at a job market, so if you're getting into this or you're trying to figure out what you want to do in information security, at least in my personal experience, I see more jobs on a blue team side than I do on a red team side, as far as job availability. That's just my experience. Take it for what it's worth. You can Google it and find out in real shit, but I'm just telling you what I've seen. This is a giant pet peeve of mine, and it's security awareness. Because if you said, I have $1 million to give you for your security program, to do with what you will, depending on how my security program was in general, I would probably spend a vast majority of it on that stuff, whatever I'm saying back there. I'm tired too. Security awareness. As an example, Diebold, when I worked at Diebold, they had a security awareness week. It was literally like a convention. Keynotes. Mitnick was the keynote speaker one year. They have, like, a lot of us in global risk and security gave presentations to, just the folks. Not even inside security. This was for everybody. And they were recorded, and they were translated, because Diebold's a global entity. They were translated and put up on, the websites for everyone to see. That's how much focus that Diebold put into security awareness. And I can honestly say I've never seen anything like that when it comes to security awareness. I was blown away, and I still am, and I haven't been there in forever. But when we look at security awareness, unfortunately, everyone's like, all right, here's your security awareness training, here's the policy on it, or here's a snippet that we found about not getting phished, sign here, see you later, and that's your end user security awareness training. Yeah, it's important for them not to click on stuff, but at the end of the day, they're probably gonna still click on stuff if you just tell them, look for this, and you send them out an email and it says, here's what to look for if you're gonna get phished. Do you think they're gonna keep that email, by the way, and then reference it if they think they're getting phished? Hell no. So it's important that we educate them on that. However, security awareness training shouldn't go past just our end users, and it should also go toward ourselves. If we have management or senior management or a board directive saying we need to improve security awareness training, we should say absolutely right. Did that include me? Because if they say, what do you mean? Well, I need to stay relevant in what I'm doing. All these new threats are coming out, all these new attack vectors, ransomware and blah, 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 blah. Shouldn't you invest some of that money in me for security awareness training as well? I'm going to skip this part because I didn't actually get to completely finish it. So let's wrap some stuff up. Security is in the news still. Security is being discussed in boardrooms. And if you don't believe that's true, believe me, it's true. And you know, honestly, as sad as it is, and maybe it's just because I'm not that happy of a person in general. Well, I'm happy with me. I'm just more of a negative person. Board members can now be financially held responsible for a breach. So all of a sudden, board members going, hey, that security stuff, we should probably look more into that. So we're getting the message there now. You know, whether it's because they are listening to us, CNN, or their bank account offshore, probably because they are board members, you know, the word's getting out there. So that's good, but we still have to get better. Attacks aren't just going to magically stop. I didn't get into this because it's honestly its own little presentation and it's late, and if I started talking GRC, everyone would be asleep. But GRC is important. It really is. The more mature I got into my career, not as a person because I'm not mature at all, the more mature I got in my career, I realized how important GRC really is. Technology isn't the right answer unless we already have a good foundation for a security program. You can't throw technology at a problem and expect it to fix your problem. So I'll leave you with this. Until we train, and train hard to prepare ourselves for offensive capabilities, we cannot have an effective defensive countermeasures. At the end of the day, what that means is, if you have anything to do on the blue team side, and that's been your whole focus, you need to reevaluate your focus. Because how do you know what to detect if you don't know how the attack's happening? Questions? Frank. His name's not Frank, just by the way. Inside joke. 5, 4.
Find it. Third-party or independent testing firms are open to the concept of sitting with the blue team during a test?
So the question is, do I think that third-party pen testing firms are open to sitting with the blue team during a test? I would say I would hope so. Again, I'm not a pen tester. I would hope so. Of the ones that I know, they would probably say if that's what your scope is, that's cool. Some might not want to because, you know, maybe they have their own in-house toolkit that they don't want anyone to see how they use, or, you know, they have their own exploits and they don't want anyone to know about, which is fair game. But I would actually question any pen test company when you say that I want you to sit with my blue team. I would actually seriously question whether I wanted to use them if they said absolutely not.
No, I think they would probably come back with something like, you know, we're happy to do after action instead of then just walk through the test and everything that we found.
Right.
It will be an additional charge, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Like money too.
Oh yeah. Well, they're hackers. Hackers like money. Did I pseudo answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
One more kind of a general statement, like pen tests, I think, like, you know, when you go through pen tests and use tools, right, you press a button and you get a report, it shows what you can find, right? And if you go through a purple team exercise, or you sit down with somebody and you show them how, like Doug and I have done this, you show people how things are exploited, they start to question, like, oh, well, can you get to that?
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to show you what they value, right? And really, in any red team exercise, cyber or not, it's getting at something that values to somebody, right?
Yep.
And by going through that purple team exercise, you can focus on what their value is, because that's really what you're trying to change.
Yeah.
You're trying to get them to protect things they value and change that habit, right?
Yeah.
And if you just give them a report, they're going to see 260 things. They're not going to know what value
right.
is placed on it. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't really have in here, one thing I didn't really have in here is I had levels of maturity for a security program, but I didn't want to put it in there yet because I was in the middle of making changes. But one of the things toward the higher end of the maturity spectrum was actually doing hunt team operations. That's actually like going inside your network and looking for evidence of a breach or in any kind of indicators of compromise of any way, shape, or form, and then actually taking that information and testing it. Or creating your own indicators of compromise, feeding it into your monitoring tools, and then seeing if you can detect them, or replicating attacks, or things like that. You know, that's kind of like more on the advanced side of a security program. But it kind of goes along with what you said about, you know, the in essence, point and click pen test report thing.
Yeah, well, and they're less defensive, right?
Right.
If you're just doing a report and going, here, fix this. Whereas you're saying, here, like, I want to walk through the app and, you know, I want to show you some stuff we found, I want to talk with you about it. And they start to guide you towards what they value. They'll start to say, oh, you know, we were thinking about doing that the last release.
Right.
We didn't get to that. How could we defend against that? And they open up, and they're more in line with it.
Yeah, and along those lines, one last thing, and then I'll let Kumar have his question. But there was a global manufacturer that had an incident, and I was involved with it, and it was actually a Chinese APT group. And after it was all said and done, there was recommendations. Here's what you should do, like an after-action report type thing. You have these, you know, holes. Here's how they got in. This is what you need to do. And sat down and explained it, not just threw it in a piece of paper and took it out, like gave a presentation on it. And then a few months later, we got called back because they had fixed none of it. And guess what? They got breached again. So I agree completely with what you're saying. My hope, though, is that the people we have to talk to at a senior executive level and above, the guys and girls who actually make the decisions and give us money, hope they actually listen to what we say, even when it's as shocking as we believe it is. Kumar.
Since the pen test is going to be limited time by your budget, to maximize that time, you disclose the pen tester up front where your goal, where your value is in the organization, so that people aren't.
So it depends on what your scope is. So when you sit down with the pen test, your third party, the question was when you sit down with your pen tester and you want to do like an open pen test with, or not an open pen test, but you have a limited time frame, a limited budget. You know, do you go ahead and disclose to them where the keys to the kingdom actually lie? A few things on that. So it's going to depend on the scope of, you know, what you can get for your money, in essence, right? It's going to depend on any contractual regulatory compliance you have. On, you know, does this have to be a black box, gray box, or white box test? Outside of that, do you have any input, Doug?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. I would say, from an internal perspective, we're always looking with the scenario in mind. So we're saying we're going after this particular pot of gold today, or this one.
Right.
From a different perspective. But yeah, it would be defining the scope.
So I have done that before for a PCI test. We literally said, here's the network segment that we need you to go after. Now, the goal, though, the scope of that engagement was, can you get into it? Yes or no? I mean, we're telling you the keys are here. We just want to test the controls in place.
And different types of tests are very tightly defined. PCI is like, you need to know exactly where the article
Right.
is and where the perimeter is. Your job is to try to get in.
Right. Does that answer your question? Ish? Any other questions? Then I have a question for you. Who here is going to Musketeers after this? Couple? Ah, it's late and people are still going to Musketeers. Awesome. My next question.
Are you allowed to go to Musketeers?
I am. My next question is, who's going to the Information Security Summit? I know you're going.
It's the first time in like 10 years I'm not going.
Oh.
Because we don't have a table.
Oh, well. That sucks.
NEOISF has a big table.
What? Nah, we'll talk. I'm not that I can do anything about it. I say it like I can use it about it. I can't. All right, cool. Yeah, if you can go, go. If you can't, no. Sucks. But all right, if there's no more questions, I appreciate everybody sitting up here and listening to me flap my gums. Thank you.